Hello there.
Hello, Peter. I'm ringing about the naval commandos.
Yeah.
In the Second World War. Is that my dad was in the same unit as you in
N Commando, yeah.
Yeah. Ray Seaton. He was a petty officer in N3.
Oh yes.
I don't know if the name rings a bell with you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Because I'm looking at a picture of you now.
Yeah.
Sitting in a car in KABRIT. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's because I've been speaking to Ray Bromley.
Yeah.
And Archie Thomas actually mentioned your name.
Yeah.
And then Ken Barry kindly gave me a number. I hope you don't mind me.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. It's nice to hear from some of the old fellas.
But there's a fellow called Pat O'Donnell who's he hasn't got much memory these days. Actually, he was in N3, but I can't find anybody who was actually in N3, the same bunch as my dad.
No, I've got no addresses at all.
Haven't you? Are you not in contact with these?
I send them Christmas cards, you know, but
yeah.
Even so, I send them Christmas cards with the hope that they're still with us.
Yes.
And well, there are one or two.
Yeah.
That were in N3.
Yeah, are there? Can you? They could still be alive, Peter.
They could be. Yeah, they could be.
Can you remember the names off the top of your head?
Who's them fellas with? No, the ones up north. No, we can't remember the names at the moment.
Well, don't worry. It's strange to be talking, because I was talking to Ray Bromley about that particular car. You know that...
Yeah.
Have you got the book, Peter?
Yeah. Pardon?
Have you got that book? Have you got that photograph? You know the one...
I think I've got the photograph, yes.
It's excellent, because Ray Bromley was telling me, was it Jack Sibley nicked it from the nearby, some nearby town. It was a red... sports car of some description.
Yeah, we pinched it.
That's all right, I'm not going to report you, mate. Where did you get it exactly? Were you there at the scene of the crime, or?
Well, no, we were in TEWFIK.
Oh, yeah.
In Egypt.
Yeah.
We're under canvas.
Yeah.
And I think it was between landings, between Sicily and Italy.
Yeah.
We were put there for a little bit of recuperation of it.
Yeah.
And we went out on one of our binge drinking one night and pinched this car.
I mean, Port TEWFIK, is that the town where you were binge drinking, or?
Yeah, Port TEWFIK. It's right on the Suez Canal.
Sure. I mean, were there a lot of sort of sports cars lying around Port TEWFIK?
Oh no. I don't know how we got hold of it, but we had a leading seaman who was in charge of this thieving expedition.
Was that Sibley, Jack Sibley, Albert Perry sitting in the car here?
No, Albert Perry, he died in America.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And Sibley, he died at Hayes in Middlesex.
Yeah.
They were all in N1.
Sure, yeah. I mean, because my dad's been dead since he died pretty young, and he died in 1975.
He died, did he?
Yeah, he's been dead a long time. That's why I can't ask him, you know. And it's only recently that through the internet, really, that I found the Commandos Association, you know. I didn't really know anything, but Peter, you were the guy who dived in the SLOP trench, weren't you?
I think you've been talking to Bromley.
I've been talking to him, yeah. He's not too well, actually.
No, he's got cancer.
He's on his second turn at the chemotherapy, so he's about 1 week in 3, you know, he'll have a chat to you, but the rest of the time he's not very
really,
happy.
I'm lucky to be here, you know, at my age, at 82, I'm really lucky to have nothing wrong with me, you know, at the moment.
Well, seriously, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, Peter, because all I know is I've got your phone number, and I think Ken Barry said that, I think, you know, he's in Bournemouth, he's still alive as far as I know. tomorrow. But to ring up and say, can I speak to Peter Lightfoot? I don't know, you know, they're going to say, well, you could, except he kicked the bucket, you know, like 6 months ago or something. It's a bit nerve-wracking. Well, I'm glad you're alive anyway, mate. All right, excellent, well done.
We've got one address here.
Who's that?
Gaster, Mr. Jack Gaster.
Jack Gaster?
Gaster. And he's in Scotland.
How do you spell Gaster? That doesn't...
G-A-S-T-E-R.
G-A-S-T-E-R, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether you want to have a word with him.
Well, I'll
his address.
I'll certainly, you know...
You've got a pencil.
I have, yes, I have.
Mr. Gaster?
Yeah.
Gaster?
Yeah.
Fairhay.
But was he was in N Commando, was he?
Yeah, he was in N Commando.
What was he in, N1, N2, N3, or do you know?
I think he was in N2. I'm not quite sure.
N2, because because Ken Barry, you know Ken Barry?
Yeah, Ken Barry. Yeah.
He's giving me a list of, you know, who he thinks was in N1 and N2 and N3.
Yeah.
Now, he's got a lot of it is sideways, you know, he's got a lot of them wrong. It's just I don't remember that name being there at all. Was he, what was he, a sort of ordinary seaman, leading seaman, petty officer, what was he?
I think he was a petty officer, I'm not sure. I think he was a petty officer.
Yeah, because my dad was a acting petty officer.
Yeah.
In N3. That's
N3, yeah.
Yeah, because there's another incident that Bromley told me about was chucking Mark Clark's car. You know, General in the canal.
Yeah.
In Italy.
Yeah. Bromley's the one for history, and he can remember it all.
Yeah.
He does it all. He don't know.
Does that ring any bells with you, Peter? Were you? Because apparently my dad was involved in that. He gave him a hand pushing it in the canal.
No.
Because the military police were around trying to find Mark Clark's staff car.
No, I know it disappeared. That's all I know.
Right. There's another one with a little story with a chit, you know, for some supplies for a non-existent landing craft.
Oh yeah, we always used to do that.
Oh, that was I got the impression from Ray it was kind of a one-off.
Yeah.
But
no, we always just, because I used to, when we're at the latter part of the war, I used to do the cooking for them.
Yeah.
I suppose Bromley told you that.
Well, that's how you ended up in the trench, wasn't it? You jumped in there.
Well,
was it particularly? Was that trench particularly rotten? You know what I mean? It must have been pretty foul.
I was in the kitchen. We used to throw all the stuff in this like cesspit.
Yeah.
And when these aircraft come over, of course, the only thing we could do is...
Oh, so it wasn't just like food, it was like human waste that they were... I didn't know, because this is in the book, yeah? And obviously he's tidied it up to make it a bit more digestible, this story. Because my dad used to tell a similar story, the way he told it, it was him diving in a bloody cesspit by accident, you know, because it was the nearest hole that he could see to jump into. Yeah. Do you remember, you know Sid Kipling?
Oh yeah, he's still alive.
He's still alive, but he can't remember, you know, I've spoken to his wife, LEDA.
LEDA, yeah.
Who, you remember, the Italian girl?
Yeah, they got married out there.
They did. She even sent me their wedding photo.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're interested, Peter, I can send you whatever photographs I've got.
I think I've got them myself.
Have you?
Yeah, I think I've got them, yeah.
Have you got the big...
I can remember we were in a Nissan up one morning when he brought the bride in with him. We were all laying in bed.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, because Bromley said that, you know the big photograph of N Commando outside that orphanage?
Yeah.
In, what is he called? Porto, San Giorgio, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
That he isn't in that photograph because he was round the back with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who was a girl called Claudia, I think.
She lived there.
That's right, yeah. And she only died not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, so, and she's in that wedding picture as well, apparently, which...
She always blamed me for pinching the doves off that front of the house.
That's right!
In the cook pot.
Yeah! That was Lena was telling me that exact same story the other day. Yeah.
Believes that, yeah.
Well, what, it wasn't you? Was it you or wasn't it you?
No, nobody done that. I think somebody had them, but we wouldn't do a thing like that, I don't think.
No. Oh, okay.
We had quite enough food without pinching the doves.
Yeah, but the Americans had better food, apparently. I hear from...
you know, you mentioned we were going to the Army DID to to pick up our food.
Yeah.
And we always used to put down a couple of battleships or something that we had ratings for and officers for.
Yeah.
And we used to pick up extra supplies.
Yeah.
And whiskey for the officers and everything.
But
we done quite well.
But everybody must have been doing that,
We
wasn't
done
it?
quite well for food.
But, there's another thing that was, because I'd read somewhere my dad, well, my mum told me that my dad once spoke about he had some contact with a thing called POPSKI's Private Army.
Yeah, oh yes, yeah.
Does that ring a bell with you, Peter?
Yeah. That was up towards the end of the war.
Yeah.
And some of the fellas went with POPSKI's army.
Oh, yeah.
And went up to see Mussolini hanging in the square.
Well, Peter, that is utterly amazing that you say that, you know, because my mum says that my dad had, she said he had some strange dealings with POPSKI's Private Army, and she also said that my dad saw Mussolini hanging up in Milan.
Yeah, that's right.
But N Commando were back in England by that time, weren't they?
Oh, no, it's just before we came back. Just before we came back.
This is in the summer of 1945, isn't it?
45, yeah.
That is, I'm so glad I rang you because you've just cleared up a mystery. So I mean, did many of N Commando go up there, or?
About 6 of them went up there, and I never went.
Yeah.
6 of them went up there and saw Mussolini hanging upside down in the square.
I can't, because my dad must have been one of them. We thought this was like a tall story, you know, but now you say it.
No, they all sound like tall stories, but most of them are true.
So do you remember any names of anybody who went, just in case there's...
No. Not offhand, no.
Yeah.
No, they were all villains.
Well, this is the opposite of what Bromley says, because he says, well, could they say we were thieves and, you know, and blah, 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 but, you know, we weren't, sort of thing. And, I mean, my dad wasn't. I mean, a lady was saying, well, you know, some of them boys, you know, they're pretty bad, but I think your dad, you know, he was a good boy, you know, blah, 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 she's going on. But, so, who was it, Peter? Who nicked the car? Was that Sibley?
Well, Sibley was one of the villains, yeah.
Yeah.
And this leading seaman, I forget his name now.
Yeah.
He was on loan to us.
Okay.
At the time, and it was him and Sibley brought this car back one day.
Yeah.
And in that picture, there's Albert, isn't there?
Albert Perry in the middle, yeah.
Perry, yeah.
Yes. You say he went to America?
He went to America and opened up a dress shop in America.
That's a bit unlikely, isn't it?
He was a bit gay at the time.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did he do well for himself in his dress shop?
Yeah. Well, not too bad. We went over to America a couple of times, and we called to see him.
Yeah.
And we went out to lunch a couple of days, and we don't know what he was doing, you know, with his gay life.
No, but so
you know what San Francisco's like.
Oh, he was in San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco.
So he had a little moustache and leather shorts or something.
He had a beautiful place there.
Yeah.
Well, he died about 2 years ago.
Sure. But I mean, you know, they have all this about sort of gay rights and stuff in the army and the navy these days. But I mean, in the old days, how was he sort of regarded?
He wouldn't have been allowed if they'd have found out he was gay in them days. He wouldn't have been allowed in the commandos.
No, because it's an unlikely occupation, I suppose.
Nowadays they let anybody in now, don't they?
Well, it's almost compulsory to be gay. I'm desperately trying to think of anything else I can ask you while you're on the phone, but it's first of all, I'm glad you're alive, obviously, for your sake and mine. The Mussolini thing is great because that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But that does seem to be. Do you remember a guy called REDSHAW? An officer called REDSHAW.
Oh, he's one of the officers.
Yeah, because he wrote.
He had an affair with an Italian countess.
Did he? That fits with what LEDA was telling me about him when he got back to England, because he left his wife and
he used to pinch the stuff out the cookhouse and take corned beef and all that up to his girlfriend up in the mountains.
Yeah, yeah, go on.
That was up in where was that?
Is this on the east coast as you were moving up the east coast of Italy, the Adriatic?
Towards the end of the war.
Yeah.
And casino. I'm not quite sure, but I know he used to vanish up in the mountains. He used to take a jeep and up in the mountains.
Yeah, because I've got a picture of him sitting in a little jeep in England.
Yeah.
And also, you know the big N Commando picture with everybody, nearly everybody in it.
Yeah.
There's another one taken at the same time, which is just Tom Turton sitting in the middle with, I think, 4 petty officers sitting around him and a couple of officers. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
Yeah.
And it's got, there's Turton sitting in the middle, and then there's my dad who's sitting in the front row, Freddie Underwood. Do you remember Freddie Underwood?
Yeah, Underwood, yeah.
Yeah, he was a petty officer. Was he in N2 or N1? I can't. Was he in your lot or?
No, he wasn't in N1.
It must have been N2 then, because he wasn't in 3.
Yeah.
Have you? Does that photograph ring a bell with you, Peter?
Oh yeah, I can more or less pick them all out.
Yeah. I'll tell you, listen, Peter, I've got your address from Ken Barry. If I was to send you a couple of photographs, and if I put some numbers on these people, maybe if I give you another ring, you could say, well, number 2 is so-and-so.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because you guys are reasonably few and far between these days.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, Bromley's not too good. Archie Thomas is in fine form, if you remember him. He's in Wales.
Who's that?
A bloke called Archie Thomas. He was
Thomas,
he was doing some painting and decorating with his son the other day, up the scaffolding, you know, so he's still leaping about Port Talbot.
Yeah.
But, is that okay with you, Peter? That'd be great.
Fine. No, that's fine.
Yeah, excellent.
I'll be glad to hear from you.
Okay. I mean, and also, I don't know if you want the phone numbers. I've got Bromley's phone number, I've got Archie.
I've got all Bromley's phone numbers.
Oh, you've got all that.
In contact with Ray, mostly all the time.
Yeah, okay.
But apart from the others, I haven't got much contact with them.
Yeah. Because there's another, because I mean, my dad appears in a couple of, you know, his old Movie-Tone newsreels.
Yeah.
He just briefly appears in one of those, and then there's a little bit of newsreel from the beach at in Sicily. Was it Pacino? Yeah, the beach down there.
Yeah.
There's a couple of, there's an officer with a loud hailer, and you know, one of the ratings standing next to him.
Yeah.
And according to Archie Thomas, the rating is a guy who N2 is Blondie Jones. He says that's Blondie Jones from Manchester, and some unidentified officer with a loud hailer. Because there's film of N3 lifting up a flag on the beach in Sicily.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll send you a couple of stills from that, maybe. And,
that'll do fine.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, Peter. I'll let you go. I'm really glad you're still with us. And do you know what I mean? You've got some memory.
They're a bit vague, but I've still got a few left.
No, you done very well. I mean, that Mussolini thing is great. I'm going to be straight on the phone to my sister and tell her that, because that explains a lot. Peter, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thanks for calling.
All right, my friend. You look after yourself.
Take care.
All right, Andrew.
Bye.
All right, see you.
Hello.
Hello, Peter. It's Paul Seaton. I rang you last week about the Commandos.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. Hope you don't mind me.
No, it's fine.
You sure? I don't want to feel I'm bothering you, is it? If you got, I wanted to send you a few photographs and bits and pieces, Peter. Can I just check that I've got the right address?
Yeah.
I've got Broadlands. The other stuff I wanted to ask you was about, you know, Jack Gaster.
Yeah.
I spoke to him on the phone. I mean, his memory's not too good.
Yeah.
But he was in J Commando doing the Normandy landings. This is what I don't understand, is,
Well, I was a bit vague with him, but he, when we meet on these, we used to meet on these occasions up in Birmingham.
Yeah.
You know, every year.
Yeah.
He used to kind of attach himself to me and my friend.
Yeah.
And we always thought it was something to do with us. But, you probably are right.
Well, I spoke to him and I said, you know, I've spoken to Peter Lightfoot, and he says that you were in N2. Come on. Yeah. Now, he didn't disagree with me, but he also said, well, I was in J Commando, so I don't know if he got a transfer or something, you know, that he did a bit of one and a bit of the other, maybe. He's in, you know, the books, Peter?
Yeah.
He's in both of those books, but there's a bit about him as in J Commando, but I'll write to him anyway. And, you know, because he seems happier writing than talking on the phone, because he can't remember names or,
well,
you know.
I get a bit confused now. I'm 82 now, and I get a bit confused.
Yeah, well, I'm 52, and I get confused, mate. Don't worry. I wanted to ask you, you know this POPSKI business? You know, POPSKI and Mussolini and all that? Because I've been talking to some fellas who, they're trying to get the history of POPSKI's private armies sorted out. Now, I told them this story about POPSKI, a few of POPSKI's blokes getting together with, you said 6 or so of N Commando, and heading off into the sunset and ending up in Milan when, what's his name, Mussolini was strung up there. Now, could you tell me, I don't know if you can remember, where it was that you...
Are you on a building site?
Is it a bit noisy? I can hear clanking, but I thought it was coming from your end.
No.
Oh, maybe...
Clanking?
It might be my wife has left the phone off, but the other... Anyway, because you guys, I've been tracing you guys up the, what do you call it, the east coast of Italy, yeah?
Got what?
Up the east coast of Italy. Because you started, you know, Anzio, you got there in January 1944, and you were holed up there for quite some time. You must have been.
Yeah.
Because that went on until, what's it called, Monte Cassino fell, virtually, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And then you went down to Naples again, according to Ray Bromley, to, what's it called, Nisida Island or something? Is that right?
Nisida Island.
Nisida Island.
Yeah.
And then somehow you crossed over to the other side of Italy.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was after Cassino fell.
We went to Corsica first.
Ah, but that was only, was that only N1? Or only N...
N1, only N1 that went to Corsica.
Okay, and then when you came back from Corsica, did you go back to the east coast of Italy and meet up with the rest of them, or what?
Yeah, we met up, we all met up in, near Bari, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we went up the coast, and all the way up the coast.
Yeah, and Peter, were you always, you know how the sort of the front line was moving up Italy, as it were, were you always pretty close to the you know, the front line, as it were?
Too bloody close.
Too close, all right, okay. Because the name, there's a place here called, I'm looking at a map of Italy, so I probably have an advantage over you, but there's a place called Ortona, Pescara, Porto San, I'm going north up the coast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Porto San Giorgio, I know you were there in August 1944.
Yeah.
And then Ancona, well, Ancona had fallen by July 1944, July the 18th.
Yeah.
And then you got to Rimini by September 1944, which is where Ray Bromley says you strung some electric cable around the harbour and...
blew up some bombs, some mines and stuff there, yeah.
Were you there then, Peter? You remember that? Was that a big bang? Because
there was a big bang. They'd left a mine in the harbour.
Yeah.
And it was a big bang, yeah.
Because they were magnetic.
Yeah.
So when you, I couldn't understand that at first, but when you put a current through the cable, it changes the magnetism in the water and blows it up. Okay. And then the next port of call was, you must have been in Ravenna for quite some time. Porto Corsini.
Yeah, quite some time.
Because it fell on the 5th of December 1944, and then there wasn't really any movement because it was winter then, and it was raining a lot from what I read, you know, the weather was pretty terrible, and so you must have been in Ravenna for quite a while, until the spring. Yeah,
we were, yeah, I think we a little bit vague, but I think we were quite some time in Ravenna.
Do you remember it being, I don't know if you can get any pictures in your mind of, I mean, it was winter then, wasn't it? And pretty wet, and that was because it was kind of stalemate over the winter, that nobody moved very much. But that is where, you see, I've been following where you guys were, and where where POPSKI and his bunch were. And the time you were in the same place at the same time was in Ravenna.
That was in Ravenna when we met POPSKI and his mob. So
what sort of accommodation? Were you in a 5-star hotel in Ravenna, or?
In an old, well, it was once upon a time a posh house. Yeah. It was, I should imagine about a 6-bedroom house. Yeah. And of course you had to be very careful going into these houses, because they even put what's names on the toilets in there, you know, the
Booby traps.
booby traps on the toilets and things like that. You had to be very careful when you went into these places.
Yeah.
We cleared it all out, and we stopped there quite some time.
I think you must have been, because but then, so if does this mean all of N Commando were in this building, or just N1, or can't you remember, or?
I was doing a bit of cooking there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can remember in Ravenna, we used to do oil-fired cooking. Like we used to have a big drum.
Yeah.
And feed it with oil.
Yeah.
Well, me being a clever clogs,
yes.
I put petrol in it once.
Yes. And blew the building up.
Yeah. We used to have an old Italian bloke used to clean all the cooking utensils for a couple of tins of corned beef or something, you know, something like that. Yeah. And he was sitting in there when it blew up.
So that was the end of his life, was he? He got a bit scorched.
He came back anymore.
Well, he never came down anymore. He just went up in the sky and
No, he lived through it. He lived through it, but he never came back to us anymore.
Yeah.
It frightened the life out of him.
But I mean, if you think there were about about 80 blokes or something like that in the whole of N Commando.
Yeah.
So was there like 80 of you in this building, or more like a third of that, about 20, 25 or something?
Offhand, I can't. No, I think N2 and N3 were in some other building. I'm sure they were. It was only us in this building, N1.
Yeah. Yeah, and so now the POPSKI business is, I don't know, I mean, I know it's a long time ago, Peter, it's 60-something years ago, but how, do you know what I mean, how did you guys come in contact, because POPSKI's lot were around Ravenna at that time. Yeah, I know that, but...
They just came in one morning, they had about 8 Jeeps, and they had machine guns and everything on the front of the Jeeps.
Yeah.
And they used to just go across the German lines at night time.
Yes.
And they used to pinch their petrol, and they used to pinch their ammunition, they used to blow up things, and then return again in the morning. And,
sure. So you just met them sort of knocking around the town there?
Yeah, they were a Polish brigade.
Yeah. Because he wrote a book. I haven't got it yet. I've been meaning to get it, about his. It's quite a famous book. This must be quite a good read. Quite funny. But so I don't. How can you know? You told me that 6 or so of N Commando ended up disappearing into the sunset with some of POPSKI's blokes. Yeah. Is that something that you saw it happen, or that you heard about later, or?
No. I saw them leave.
Yeah.
About 8 o'clock.
This is in
night. They went there and they stopped the night up in where Mussolini was.
That was because Milan is quite away from Ravenna, isn't it? I haven't got a scale on this map, but it's a bit of a hike. They
were on 40, maybe 48 hours.
But that would have been, I think, was it about June 1945 that Mussolini was strung up there? Yeah. And this was after the Germans had surrendered in Italy.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Does that make sense with you?
The Italians had surrendered long before that.
Yeah.
And, matter of fact, the Italians were on our side for the latter part of the war.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they seem to be on whoever side was winning, really.
We went into a village one night, into a cafe, drinking wine.
Yeah.
Until we found out down the other end of the village was the Germans. They were drinking wine as well.
Okay. It was obviously a very strange situation. But how did it? So if you watch these guys disappear with the fellas from POPSKI's army, and you said they were only gone for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But how did that come about? Was POPSKI short of men or something, or?
No, they just invited it. They got friendly with a couple of the fellas, and us being our lot being quite young, and didn't know the name of fear.
Yes.
They'd try their hand at anything.
Yeah.
Popsky said, would you like to come with a trip with us?
So it was just a sort of day trip, really.
Like a day trip.
Yeah. But they didn't know that at the end of this trip, that they were going to find Mussolini hanging from, it was a petrol station. He was hanging upside down from there.
I don't know whether they were informed or whether it was just, it just happened that they were there at that time.
But you can't think of any other reason why they would have gone to Milan in particular, aside from to see this.
I think they just went for the, as you say, for a 48-hour trip.
Yeah, sure, but knowing that there was going to be something spectacular at the end of this trip, which was, because it was, I think the partisans had got hold of Mussolini quite a while before they actually shot him and strung him up in Milan.
Well, I don't think we'll know the whole story of any of it.
Well, but there's a very good book, Alan Whicker, the reporter fellow, he's got a book out called Whicker's War, and he was in Italy all the same time you were.
I used to watch him on television. It was on television for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he was I think it was the Army Film Unit or something he was with. And I've got the book, and I've only read, snippets here and there. But it's a very good book, to give you, I mean, you don't need a better picture, because you've already got a better picture, but, people like me do. So, okay, so that's... And then they came back, and they all came back and said, oh, by the way, we saw Mussolini and his missus strung up.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. But, I'm not quite sure. I remember him coming back. Yeah.
But it can't have been very long after that. But because you shipped out back to England from Porto.
From there we went to Naples, come across land to Naples, we came through Rome to Naples, got on board a Polish ship and come home.
Oh, because somebody told me, I don't know if it was Bromley or somebody, said that you sailed from Porto Corsini, which is the port in Ravenna, back to England. But you came from Ravenna overland.
Road over the mountains,
Yeah. I guess that's a bit of a hike as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a bit horrendous as well. If you know the mountains in Italy.
I don't know. I've never been there, but I mean, I'm looking at a little.
They've got no barriers up round the sides.
No.
Sometimes you have to reverse to get round the corners.
Scary just to think about. But so you would have come through. There's a place called Perugia, which is right in the middle between.
Well, it was
a Seaton
when we drove across.
Turney. Does that ring a bell? Turney. No. But you got back to Rome, and of course Rome, I mean Italy, the war was over in Italy by this time.
We came through Rome to Naples.
Down to Naples, and then sailed from Naples.
Yeah, on a Polish ship back to Liverpool.
And you got back to Liverpool, this must have been, June 45 or something like that?
Not quite sure of the date.
I mean, was it Hitler died, Hitler committed suicide, I think, just after they shot Mussolini.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the war must have...
the war.
Except the war maybe in the Far East.
The Far East was still on.
Yeah.
And some of the commandos went to the Far East.
Yeah.
Not our lot, but some of the, I don't know what number or letter went to.
Jungle George, does that ring?
George, he went there.
He was an H commander. I spoke to...
spoke to Jungle George.
I spoke to Jungle George. He's very vehement in his opinions. He hates all these generals, that bloody Montgomery, bloody fool, what he's bloody doing, It was quite entertaining for a short time to talk to him.
Jungle George knows he's one you can get information out of. Yeah. He's got a memory like an elephant.
Yeah. Okay. I should give him a ring back. Yeah. Listen, Peter, I don't want to take up your whole day. You've answered, I think, as well as you can the questions that I have. Is it okay with you? What I'm going to do is I'll send you this various sort of photographs and bits and pieces of writing that I've got. You know what I mean? That you might find interesting. Is it okay if anything else starts to bother me that you might be able to answer? Yeah. Is it okay with you if I give you a ring?
Oh, by all means.
Excellent, because, I mean, the only sources of information, really, that I've got about in Commando is LEDA Kipling, who knows what happened in her little neck of the woods, and Ray Bromley, who's really not well, and you, so you drew the short straw, really.
Yeah.
All right, Peter.
Oh, by all means.
Excellent, okay. All right, Pete.
Okay, thanks.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for calling.
All right, thanks a lot.
Right, bye-bye.
All right, see you later. Bye.
Hello.
Hello, Peter. It's Paul Seaton again about the commandos.
Yeah, I've got your little parcel.
That's what I was wondering.
I'm reading it in episodes.
Oh, okay. Do you find that interesting?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, I wondered about the photographs and whether you could identify anybody in there.
No, I see you've got them all numbered there, but...
Do you know, are you in there, Peter?
I'm there somewhere, but I can't find myself.
I thought, well, if you don't know, nobody does. Number one is Freddie Underwood over on... have you got it there? I don't suppose you've got it in front of you, have you?
No, I've got it in the bureau. Yeah. I can see Freddie Underwood. I can see a lot that I know in it.
Yeah.
Quite a lot. But,
you couldn't grab the photo and then maybe if I suggest, because Ray Bromley has suggested quite a few people here.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean. If you can kind of confirm that. That he's right. There's Dodds and Underwood and Granger and Hazelock and my dad, the Sid Kipling, a lot of these people. I couldn't ask you to get the picture and.
Brenda, can you get that?
Can I do that? I know I'm being a nuisance, but I'll try not to take up too much of your afternoon.
It's just gone to get them out the bureau.
Okay, cool. It was rather a large parcel, wasn't it? Really, it's everything I can find, Peter. That
group picture with numbers on it. Yeah, I can. There's one or two faces that I can, pinpoint.
Go for it.
Huh?
Go for it, Peter. Tell me who you... Tom Turton is in the middle behind that. What is that thing in front of him? Is that a lifebelt or something? What is that? Do you know that round thing in front of... That's Tom Turton sitting in the middle, yeah? At the front.
Well, that group one I'm looking at the moment,
yeah.
I don't see Turton in that one.
Well, Ray Bromley says he's the guy right in the middle at the front with that round thing in front of him, whatever that is. Do you mean...
yes, I see it now. Yeah, I see what you mean. I don't know what that is.
No, I don't.
No.
Well, is that Tom Turton sitting behind it? What is that him?
Yeah, it's not in the middle of the group. I was looking in the middle of the group.
Oh no, because I'm splitting.
Right at the group.
Yeah, I'm splitting into two, Peter. There's two bits because it would have been so small. You know what I mean? So there's two bits. So it's over on the.
I got it now.
So there should be two chunks of the photograph here.
Yeah.
So that is Turton, is it, in the middle there? Well, I mean, behind the round thing.
Number 30.
Number 39, that's it. Freddie Underwood is number 1 right on the left. Is that so? I'm told.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now my dad is he's got a 4 just above his. No, he's got a number 5 on his chest, just next to Freddie Underwood. Is my dad.
Yeah.
Who's the guy? Is the guy sitting in front of it? Is that Hazelock? Haslock. That's what Ray Bromley seems to think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, because there's some film of some singing on one of the troop ships going to from Naples up to Anzio, and there's some singing on board a ship called the Glengyle.
Glengyle, yeah.
And the guy leading the singing, now he's got a beard in that bit of film, but Ray Bromley reckons that's Hazelock. Doing the sort of cheerleading the singing.
When we went out to Sicily, we left the Clyde.
Yeah.
Glengyle.
Yeah. Sure.
And done the landing, straight to the landing with the Glengyle.
Did you stop anywhere en route, Peter?
No stopping. As a matter of fact, 3 days before we sailed, they issued us with all, what can you say, duffel coats, sea boots, and all winter clothing. Yeah. And they marched us through the dockland.
This was a deception operation.
This was a deception, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, people were looking at us with all that sort of clothing, which we'd just been issued with.
Yeah.
that we were going up Norway or somewhere like that.
Okay.
That as soon as we got on board the Bengal, there was somebody there collected it all.
Throwing it overboard. That's unnecessary. You don't know who number 10 is in that photograph, do you, Peter? He's this very dark-skinned looking fella, just next, he's a couple away from...
yeah, he looks like a coloured fella, doesn't he?
But there was a fella called Paradise, or Kia Paradise, or Paradise Kia, or something like that, in the list, you know, which is a strange name, and he's a very swarthy looking bloke, and I think I've seen him in one of the movies as well. But how about number 4, the fella standing behind my dad? Yeah. Does he? Because I suppose if they're in a different group, you wouldn't recognise them. Shorty.
No, there's some of our group. You know, they're all mixed together here. This is 1, 2, and 3.
No, sure, but you would only recognise probably the guys who were in you were in N1, weren't you, Peter? Yeah. So. Shorty Lowry is number 16 at the top there, according to Bromley. Does that make...
That's Lowry, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
He does look short, doesn't he, there?
He is very short.
Okay. And then number 25, standing up in the window at the top, is Dodds, who was... Is that right? He says it was his number 2 on the machine gun or something. Right, yeah. And number 24 is the guy, underneath Dodds, is the guy who ended up, you told me, in San Francisco.
Number 24.
Standing underneath Dodds. If you go down one from Dodds to number 24.
Oh, yes, that's Albert Perry, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And now number 20, with a big grin on his face, in the second row back.
20.
It looks like, he tells me, that's Sibley, I think you said.
Sibley, yeah.
Is that right?
It looks like Sibley, yeah.
You don't recognise any of the officers there, do you, Peter? Aside from Turton, like number 40, who's it? What's his name? In the front row, there's a row of officers, you know.
40, yeah, he was N1.
So you would...
I'm trying to think of his name. He was the dopey sod that put us on the wrong beach.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with his sextant and everything he had.
Yeah.
Going by the stars he was.
Oh, he was navigating.
He was navigating and put us on the wrong beach.
I've got a list of names. Crickmar, Harris, Parry, Fox Brown, Kant, Wallace, Bintner, Burley, Williams, Jarvis, Redshaw, Ward, Hill, Lucas, McIntosh, and then we got Russell, who was out by that time, Turton.
Of course, Renshaw, that story, those pages that you sent me, are to do with Renshaw, aren't they?
Yeah, had you seen them before, Peter?
No, I hadn't seen them before, but the stories are very come to light, you know. I can remember the stories attached to them. Yeah,
but did you read about the monkeys, you know, the forming the square to fend off the monkeys in North Africa? But you wouldn't have been there, because that was N2, I think.
No, that wasn't us. We were in North Africa.
Yeah.
Debussy or something.
Yeah.
Something like that it was.
I mean, your officers, who were the officers in N1, Peter? Were
Brown?
Is that Fox Brown? I've got a double-barreled name here, Fox Brown.
It would be double-barreled.
Okay.
Funny enough, after the war, me and Bromley thought we'd go down and visit him somewhere in the country. I forget where it is now. And what was it? We were playing a bit of a joke on him, and I knocked at the door, and of course me and Bromley went there. Bromley stopped in the car, so I knocked at the door, and he said, "Oh, come in." And I said to him, do you mind if my chauffeur comes in? And he looked at me so old-fashioned. Well, this bloke must have plenty of money to have a chauffeur. And when Bromley walked in, He's dead now. He's died, Brown.
Do you know any idea where he? Because most of the officers in the photo are in the front row, aren't they? Most of them.
Yeah.
Does anybody ring a bell there?
Well,
it's a bit of a. It's not the greatest photograph, I must admit. Because the guy on the far right, number 79. You know, there's two pictures. It's split into two with these numbers on, and there's a fellow. Yeah, on the very far right is a guy that somebody told me they thought he was
78.
In the front row on the very far right, with his legs sort of splayed apart, with his hands on his knees.
79, yeah.
Yeah, they said he was Wallace.
Yeah, it looks like him, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And because he was in Doncaster until recently, but he seems to have disappeared. I don't know. You know, where he is. And what about the guys behind him, Peter? You see 77.
Well, 76 is Letby.
76 is Letby.
See that one, he's standing there.
Oh, is he definitely Letby, 76?
Yeah. 76 is Letby, yeah.
With his head against that white wall there.
And,
what about 77 then?
78 is, you've got a photograph of 78 here.
Yeah,
a photograph.
Yeah, Suez.
With a beard.
Yeah, somebody, Ray Bromley told me his name, and of course it slipped my memory.
It's here somewhere.
Dow,
yeah,
Vic Dow.
Yeah, he opened a betting shop after the war.
Did he?
Down Southampton way.
And became a rich man, I suppose.
Yeah.
Did he? I suppose he.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen him at all. So.
What about number 80, who's just in front of Vic Dow on the right?
What number?
Number 80.
80.
He's a petty officer.
Yeah, he was. I don't know which one he was. I think it was belonged to us, number 1, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can't remember his name.
You got Letby. Well, yeah, the piece of paper I've got, the only PO in N1, it says here is Letby, but I don't know if that's right or not. I don't know. What about, you see next to number 80 is a fellow with a dog. Number 77. Is sitting there with a dog.
Oh, yeah.
Now, somebody tells, Granger seems to be the consensus on that guy. Is that's Granger?
Granger.
Does that make sense?
That's N3, but I
Was it?
can't place it on this photograph.
What about number 75?
75.
Sitting next to the guy with the dog.
75. Oh, that's Letby.
Oh, that's Letby.
That's Letby, yeah.
That's Letby. Hang on, he's the guy with the red car.
He'd go with what?
No, I get Sibley and Letby mixed up. Now, he's Letby. He's Letby.
Letby's a PO.
Yeah, I got him.
N1.
He's Letby. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for sure. All right. But the officers don't mean anything to you, really, in the front row there.
No. Not clear enough.
Sid Kipling is at the top there against the pillar, number 64, at the top of the page, little dark face against the pillar of the doorway.
Who's that one?
Sid Kipling, I'm told.
Kipling.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was another small one.
Yeah. Okay. Off you go. Peter, you know there's another picture I sent you which was just Tom Turton and the petty officers sitting around. Obviously it's taken at the same place.
Yeah.
It's in front of the same door and obviously taken at the same time. It's a little picture with, there's 7 of them in the picture.
That's right, I've got it in front of me now.
Yeah, there's Turton in the middle. There's my dad is sitting, as you look at it, is on his left. Then the back row.
The left one, number 1, it's oh God.
Granger?
He's N1. There's N1. Letby. That's Letby.
That's Letby.
Yeah.
Next to him, I'll tell you who Ray Bromley thinks it is in a second, but who do you, the guy next to Letby then would be...
Next to him?
Yeah, with a dark hat on.
No idea.
You can phone a friend?
Freddie Underwood, yeah.
Freddie Underwood is the next one.
Yeah.
And then what about the guy on the right of the back row?
Yeah.
That's the same guy as has got the dog in the big picture.
Ranger, is it?
It could well be. That fits. I think that kind of fits with what I've been told. And then there's in the front row. There's my dad on the left. There's Tom Turton in the middle. Well, then the guy on the right again.
Yeah, I can't place his name.
Okay.
But I think he was in one. I'm sure he was.
Okay.
Can't place his name.
Yeah. Okay.
Him and Leppy were the two POs in N1.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Peter. And the other photographs. Did you see the picture with them putting the flag up in Sicily? You know the landings at when you came round from Scotland and you did your landings in Sicily, PACHINO, wasn't it? PACHINO at the bottom of Sicily.
That one, yeah.
There's, with that flag there. Now, if you can, I don't know if I've given you. It's from a movie. Yeah.
Movie tone, yeah.
Yeah. And there's it says on the flag, and there's a little pennant underneath the white ensign. It says RNBC N3. Yeah. Which is my dad's lot. He was petty officer N3. So, do you recognise anybody in there? I don't suppose you do.
No. Well, we didn't have anybody with gold braid on their hat, and that fellow there's got gold braid on his peak.
What does that mean, Peter? Does that mean he's
senior officer?
Okay. Of what kind of rank would that be?
Well, beachmaster or above, I suppose.
Yeah, because there's some pictures. Did you see the picture of the guy with a megaphone? There's a fellow with a megaphone standing there, like he's got a microphone to his mouth and a big megaphone. He's sort of broadcasting out to sea. I think I sent you that one.
No, I haven't got that one.
I'm sure I sent you that. Sure, it would be there somewhere. No, maybe I didn't. But it's the same. I think it's from the same original bit of film as this thing with the flags. But
yeah, I got that one.
Yeah. Does that anybody there ring a bell?
No.
Because those are the same. The officer is the same bloke who's in the film with one of the same guys who's in the film with the flag. But this again is in.
The old eyes are a bit dim. It's either that or the photograph.
No, it's not the great. But I could get a very good copy, but they'd charge me movie tone or something. Would charge me. Say again?
You've gone faint.
I've gone faint. That's
better.
Okay. They would charge me 25 quid for a good copy of that one photograph.
Yeah.
You know, movie time, which is a bit pricey for me, really. You know, Archie Thomas can you see there's a guy with a commando hat on just to his right? The guy with the megaphone is there, and there's a rating or whatever with the... Now, Archie Thomas, he thought that was Blondie Jones. He said, that's Blondie Jones from N2, he reckons. Blondie Jones came from Manchester. Yeah. He reckons.
Yeah, I know the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. There's more film from Sicily that I'm going to have to go up to the War Museum to sort it out. But, you know. But I'm trying to, amongst the other photographs, there was just sort of general whatever I could find of, you know, the landing in Sicily. Yeah. But nothing there stood out to you as, do you know what I mean? No. Oh, well.
Well, it's been very nice of you to get all these things together. Brings back a few memories.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, some of you guys have been very helpful to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so well, we'll do all we can, but, you know...
I know it's a long time.
My assistance would be very small, I'm afraid.
Well, no, Peter, the POPSKIS Army bit, right?
Yeah.
There are these guys who are very interested in POPSKIS Army, and they're running around all over the place like headless chickens about this Mussolini business. But it does seem, you know what I mean? They're not saying, oh, that's impossible. They're all running around trying to find, again, some guys who were in POPSKI's private army and trying to get them to, you know...
Yeah.
But I basically heard the same thing from you, as kind of. I heard through my dad, so, do you know what I mean? I don't really have much doubt about it. Yeah. All right, Peter, I appreciate your help with the photographs. Yeah. One other thing that I can do is, if you like, is I've got a DVD with all the movies I can find that were taken around Anzio. Yeah. You know the landings at Anzio. I mean, my dad appears momentarily in one of those. Yeah. I don't. If you'd like to see them, I could cut you a copy of the DVD. Yeah. A lot of it is it's the original film they used to make the newsreels. Yeah. So that it's silent. You know, there's no sound. Yeah. But it's the original film, and I've got a little script that goes with it that kind of explains what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay, then that'll do fine.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Peter, I'll let you sit down. Thanks again for your assistance.
Right.
All right, mate.
Thanks for calling.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Hello there.
Hello, Peter.
Oh, you all right?
I'm fine. Sorry to bother you.
I haven't had your disc.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I've been in touch with so many people, and I've promised them all discs, and I'm up to my elbows in discs. I'll get it to you as soon as I can. Yeah, Peter, you spoke, I think last time we spoke, about a fellow called Crickmar, Len Crickmar.
Oh, yeah, Crickmar, yeah.
I found him. He's alive. He's a bit of a strange bugger, isn't he?
Oh, he's a rum character, he is.
Yeah.
When we were up towards the top of it, he was caught in an Italian noble person up in the hills.
Yeah.
And he used to pinch the stuff out of their cookhouse to take up to them, to feed them.
Because he sounded like, to me, I was talking to him for about 40 minutes, and a lot of it was sort of skinning cows, you know, butchering animals all over the place, and sort of, he nearly shot my dad at one point, which is, there was some incident where there's him and my dad and a few blokes, because he was a lieutenant I think, in N3, he says, which was my dad's lot. Yeah. And then Tom Turton was kind of in charge of, was the beachmaster in N3. Yeah. And then there was him and my dad as a petty officer and a couple of other blokes skinning a cow or something, and there were some nuns around. I don't know how they came into the story. And they were all a bit pissed. And then Turton came along and he was a bit pissed too. And he said, you know, said to my dad and all the other blokes, come along with me, I want you to do this, that or the other. And then, what's his name? Crickmar, he says, well, I'll pull my fucking gun out, I'll say, you fucking move, I'll blow your fucking brains out. So, I was sort of stunned, you know, I don't know what to say. I was spraying to a bloke who was threatening to murder my dad. So, they sounded like they were all a little bit pissed at the time. Yeah. But he's the strangest, he doesn't sound like the usual officer, you know what I mean? He's a bit of a Cockney Jack the Lad, you know?
He was a character, he was a real character.
Yeah. He's
always up to something he shouldn't be doing, you know.
That's the impression I got, because he's still going strong. He was a waterman or something on the Thames.
Did he?
It was something like that. And I found him because I found there was a fellow, an officer called Burley, Hugh Burley. Yeah. No, he's still alive. He's up in Scotland near Lossiemouth. He was an assistant beachmaster in N3. Yeah. And he knew my dad quite well. And I can't even remember how I found Burley, but he remembered Crickmar as well.
You've certainly been doing your homework, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know more people than what I do.
Well, I think when I found Burley, that was the first guy from N3 that I'd found, aside from Pat O'Donnell, who can't remember a bloody thing, you know. So I was quite pleased to find Hugh Burley, who remembers quite a lot, but he didn't join up with you lot till just before Anzio, I think. Is Pat
O'Donnell still alive?
Pat O'Donnell is still alive, but he can't remember anything, Peter. He's in I can give you his phone number if you want it. He's in a sort of naval home in Chatham. Gillingham.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Do you know his phone number?
Yeah.
I've got loads of phone numbers here.
Well, I haven't got a pen at the moment.
Oh, no?
When you send the disc down, put it in with the disc.
Okay.
I will.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, whenever I speak to him, he can't remember more than about 10 minutes ago. No. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit, he's a bit difficult to talk to. Yeah. And do you remember that Gaster bloke you told me about? Who? Gaster, Jack Gaster. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
I mean, I got a bit of a question mark about him, whether he was really what he's pretending to be at all. Yeah. You know.
It was a mystery to me, but when we went to a reunion once, he seemed to attach himself to the wife and I. Yeah. And ever since, we've been sending Christmas cards and that to each other. Yeah. And of course, the reunions are all finished now. Yeah. So that's the only contact I've got with him now. Yeah.
Because I've just been talking to Hugh Barley, who's very public school, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, well, jolly good talking to you, thank you. Oh, yes, I got your letter, thank you very much.
Oh, dear.
And then you talk to, you know, Len Crickmore. I thought, you fucking what, you know, there, fucking, we were skinning this fucking sheep and his fucking guts cut out, well, the fuck's that fucking cunt.
I don't know how Crickmore got
a commission.
an officer, I don't know.
No, it's certainly not run-of-the-mill, you know, I think threatening to shoot your petty officers a bit, you know, a bit much, really.
It takes all, I suppose it takes everybody, you know,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
I don't know how they made him up an officer, I don't know.
I think it was because he was a Thames waterman, or something to do with that. They thought he understood water, or I don't know.
That could have been, yeah.
So, but he certainly doesn't sound like the run-of-the-mill, do you know what I mean? Stiff upper lip,
Yeah.
English gentleman officer, you know. Well, okay, Peter, is there anything else you can remember about Crickmore? Because I'm trying to work this guy out. I mean, he was the one who was dating the Countess.
Yeah, he married, I don't know whether he married her or not.
I think he did marry an Italian girl, he told me. And actually, Hugh Barley told me that Crickmore married an Italian girl, but it didn't last that long.
No.
And now he lives in Beckton in the East End of London.
Oh.
And he's got a 2-litre Ford Sierra.
Oh.
That's all I know about. So it's a pretty old car. That's all right, Pete. Okay, I'll run the ball with your discs and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and put your phone number in as well, will you?
Oh, yeah, I don't
So I can keep in contact with you. I haven't got your phone number.
I mean, it would have been. I sent you some stuff, didn't I, Peter? Wasn't my phone number in there anyway?
Your address was there, but I don't know about. No, not the phone number.
Well, okay, I'll put it in.
Yeah, just in case you want to have a chat with you at time or other.
Well, if you suddenly remember anything, you know, illuminating, it would be. I've just heard actually, Peter. You know, Anne Bromley.
Oh yeah. Anne Bromley.
I thought Anne would answer, and she's normally a bit more sprightly than Ray, you know. But obviously she's got her own troubles.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, when you want to ask him why he killed that little boy.
Why he killed a little boy?
Yeah. When we landed in Sicily.
Yeah.
We attacked a pillbox.
Yeah.
And there was a young lad in there, about 21 years of age. He was holding the Italian boy.
Yeah.
He was holding the pillbox.
Yeah.
And me and attack this pillbox. He dives into the pillbox and empties a whole magazine into the pillbox.
Yeah.
Into his body, and oh my God, what a mess.
Was that the only... I meant to ask you about that's in these books, isn't it? That's, you know, he says that him and you and Letby and somebody else, you know, somebody came from the left and somebody came from the right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really describe what happened when you got there, you know.
That's what happened.
Jesus.
There was only a young lad in there.
Was he the only one there?
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, to what extent was he shooting at you, Peter, before this?
He was firing from the slit holes in the pillbox.
In a determined manner, you know, like...
He was trying to hold a whole lot of us back, you know.
The whole of the bloody 8th Army?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
But, you know, he's finished up with his stomach all in pieces on the ground.
Because it doesn't say. I don't know... You haven't got those books, have you, Peter? I can't remember. Have you got those books with... There's a lot of quotes from Ray... But this is put across as a sort of heroic action on the beaches of Sicily.
I've got one commando book, Beachhead Commandos it's called.
By with a sort of brownie cover by a bloke called Hampshire, But there's a lot of in that, and it's put across as this is a big heroic deed.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean? I wondered what happened when you got there, because it doesn't, to the pillbox, because it doesn't say.
Yeah.
So he didn't have any real reason to, you know, shoot him to pieces.
Well, no, he was a bit gun happy, I think.
Yeah.
And one shot would have done it. You know, he had one of these automatic guns.
Yeah.
And, he just pulled the trigger and opened the whole magazine up, you know.
And was he kind of repentant about this afterwards, or was he? Or was he quite happy with...
Well, just before we landed, we had a good shot of rum, you know, on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were, well, most of us were half drunk, you know.
Yeah.
And young, half drunk, you know, and didn't give a damn about anybody, you know. And that's what the whole thing was about.
Well, that's right. I mean, you didn't know that it was pretty well sort of unopposed landing there, but you didn't know that was going to be the case.
That was the only opposition we met, was in that pillbox.
No, I know, but I mean, you didn't know that was going to be the case before you landed. It could have been. It could have been a lot worse.
God, no.
Because Burley was telling me, Burley was saying that what used to happen was that there'd be two assistant beachmasters would go in first in some sort of flanking LCAs, you know, with about 8 in between them. They would go in, and then with the second wave, the rest of you guys would go in. Yeah? Is that about right?
Yeah, it's about right, yeah.
Yeah? And really, the job of sort of cleaning up any defences on the beach was more, you know, it should have been the, you know, the Canadians or whoever it was who was with you doing that sort of thing, while you were sorting out the shipping and the landings, you know. Is that, yeah?
That's about right, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But you obviously remember that incident, Peter, with
Oh, yeah, I'll always remember that incident because it was so ghastly, you know.
Yeah. Well, were you the second one? Was the first one to get in there? Was he?
Yeah. I was with.
Well, standing right next to him.
Yeah. Well, it was me and somebody else.
Yeah.
And well, we had this fire come from this pillbox.
Yeah.
And well, being bomb happy and gun happy, we both attacked this blooming pillbox.
Yeah.
We went round the back of it and into the opening at the back, and that's what happened.
Could see what was in there, because you'd be pretty dark, wouldn't it?
No, it was kind of half light in there, and I don't suppose he actually knew what was in there. He just opened the magazine up, thinking there was about a dozen in there. You know?
Yeah, and there was one stupid kid.
One young fella in there, that's all.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Oh, well.
No, never mind.
Okay. Well, that's a very sad note, isn't it, to finish this.
We still wake up at night dreaming of these things, you know.
Well, my dad did, apparently. He used to, you know, just sort of, my mum was telling me, he just sort of jerk awake in the middle of the night, you know, and sort of grabbing around, you know,
You can never forget these things, you know. The worst parts you never forget. You forget some of the good parts.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, better to concentrate on the good bits, I would imagine. My mum was telling me that going for walks, you know, like in the New Forest or in a park or something, my dad had a very hard time going off the path, because the path, you know what I mean, was safe as far as he was concerned. But going off the path, it was still in the back of his mind. He could get his legs blown off any minute, even if, you know, this would be in the New Forest or somewhere. So, I didn't know all this, you know what I mean? Like, I remember my dad, and obviously he had all this in the back of his mind, and I was just a little kid and I didn't know. So
our skipper had his leg blown off.
That was Russell.
Tangier.
Yeah, were you there when that happened, Peter?
Oh yeah, I was lucky. Really, we were loading a lorry, waiting to come back out of it because we were all finished.
Well, Burley told me that he thought it was because he was there as well. You know, Hugh Burley, this officer from N3, and he thought it was the N1 were coming out and N3 were going in to replace them in Anzio, and that's why they were there. You know, because he says he was in the building. This was just outside the building where you were all
getting all our equipment from. Like, it was on 3 floors. The road was at the back of the house. Yeah. And the beach was down like 3 floors. So the beach was this was right by the sea. Yeah. By the sea. Yeah. Yeah. And of course we had all our equipment more or less on the ground floor, and we were carrying it up the stairs. To the roadway at the back. Yeah. And unfortunately, Russell was up the top, and I was on the 2nd floor. I had some equipment in my hand, another, I should imagine another 20, 30 yards, and I would have copped it as well. Well, apparently my dad and Burley were just standing, they were the other side of the wall, just, you know, Russell was on the outside, they were on the inside. Another fella copped it, I forget his name now, he comes from Shepherd's Bush. It was a Thornbow or something like that. Was that it? And he lost both his legs. Yeah. Because they were pretty big shells, weren't they, from, that, it was a railway gun, wasn't it? Which were landing all the time. Yeah.
Hey, you never met Dennis Ely, did you? You know Dennis Ely, the old Labour MP?
No, I've seen it on the telly, but no, I never met him. He was in the landing.
At Anzio, apparently, because he was the sort of military equivalent of you guys, something to do with the army beach organisation. Yeah, this is what Burley was saying, and he was saying, oh, you should give him a ring, you know. And it's like, I'm going to ring Dennis Ely, you know. Oh, hello, mate. You know, how you doing?
Never met him. Never met him at all.
Have you seen that? There's a book by Alan Whicker.
Yeah, I've seen his story on the telly as well.
Yeah, there's a book called Wicker's War that goes along with it.
That's right, yeah.
That's a good thing. He can't stand, you know, Mark Clark. You know Mark Clark, the general, the American general.
Oh, Mark Clark.
Yeah, he absolutely hates him. Everybody seems to hate Mark Clark, and nobody's got a...
He was stupid, he was.
Well,
absolutely stupid.
Well, that's what he was saying, is you know, it's sort of...
He's the one that killed a lot of casualties at Anzio. He should have advanced onto Rome straight away.
Well, you just sort of sat there, because the whole idea was that you'd be on the beaches there for a couple of weeks or something, and it turned into bloody months.
He said, I'm not risking my troops. And he was risking his troops because he made them stop at Anzio. Yeah. And while he was stopping at Anzio, the Germans come down.
That's right.
Reinforcements down. Yeah. And plastered the hell out of us. Well,
there was nowhere to run to, so far as I understand it, is that the guns, their railway guns, could reach everywhere. Yeah. So there was you couldn't get like behind the lines, safety. There wasn't any safety.
No, we were bombarded for about a fortnight there.
But according to Barley, it was what you guys did. You'd have like N1 would be in there for about 10 days, and while the other N2 and N3 were back in Naples kind of area, and then you'd swap over, you know, so you do sort of 10 days in Anzio and 20 days back in Naples. Yeah. Does that sound about right?
That's about right, yeah.
Okay. I'll get back to my hunt for more survivors from N Commando, Peter.
I'll leave you to your hunting then.
All right, mate. I will give you that DVD, Peter. And seriously, because I suddenly realised I promised this guy a CD, this guy a DVD, the other guy this, and the other guy that, and I've overburdened myself with work here. I will get it to you, honestly, as soon as I can.
Okay then.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
That's all right. See you, Peter.
See you, lad.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Bye.